Well, building a new home can be an overwhelming process. Balfour Homes is a property tech company that is using in-house technology and finance experts to take the hassle out of the whole process for new home builds, matching buyers with blocks of land and builders to suit their budget. Here to tell us more is co-founder and director of Balfour Homes, Jimmy Mullany. Good morning to you, Jimmy.
Good morning, Alarna. You've nailed it. That's exactly what we do.
Oh, look, now tell us first of all, before we get into the nitty gritty, what are some of the challenges that buyers and people looking to build are facing right now, particularly in light of the certain circumstances we're in with COVID-19?
Yeah, so, it's just a tricky road to sort of navigate. Obviously, off the back of COVID, with everybody being in lockdown, there's just also lots of information that's out there. And off the back of COVID, there's a whole bunch of new grants that have just become available. So it was already a tricky road to sort of navigate, not knowing where to start. There's so many builders out there, so much information, not knowing what people qualify for, brokers telling people misinformation. And so because of that, and then off the back of COVID, we've had these brand new grants that have come out. So there's lots and lots of information. So the starting point or knowing where to start is probably the most confusing thing for potential buyers. And sometimes it can be overwhelming and stop buyers actually getting into the market. So it's just a lot of information at the moment that's out there.
Yeah, I guess things are definitely changing in this unprecedented times. But from your perspective, what are the trends that we're seeing in property right now? Are people still wanting to, buy the CBD dream, or people are looking more realistically into buying property out in the burbs?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. So we're seeing a mix of both. I think in certain places like Sydney, certain pockets of Melbourne, where property prices have just skyrocketed over the last several years, people are looking now at rent vesting as an option. So putting together an investment strategy so that you can rent where you want to live, and then over time you can build up a portfolio of investment properties. And over time, if you can build up a healthy portfolio, you can use the properties that you've bought and then buy into the areas that you want to be. So that's one option. The second option is people making that change and moving outside of the CBD. So, moving 15, 20, 30 kilometres outside of the CBD, knowing that they do have to potentially trek a little bit further to work, but they're then steering away from that rent trap. So, the average Australian spends $250,000 over 10 years on rent. And so people can get pretty fed up with that. And at Balfour Homes, we're passionate about getting people outside of that, away from that rent trap. And so people know that there does have to be that compromise, especially for your first home. It's not necessarily your dream home or in your dream location, but getting into the market is probably the most important thing in today's market.
So, Jimmy, let's just talk a little bit about exactly what you do at Balfour Homes. How do you match up the buyers with the blocks of land and then also the builders for their budget? How does that process work?
Yeah, great question. So first and foremost, the road can be quite a tricky one to navigate, which is what led to us starting Balfour Homes. Like I said, there's lots of information that's out there, brokers telling them different things and whether they need a deposit or whether they don't need a deposit. So first and foremost, we have our in-house brokers that determine in real time, once you've filled out an online application, what your borrowing capacity is, what budget, what deposits you need, if any. In some cases, you don't need much deposit at all. And then more importantly, what grants are available to you. So once we've got that information, we've got our in-house technology that once we put it into our portal, it'll actually come up with all the home and land packages that are available in your area. With all the panel of builders that we do have and all the land that's for sale in your area as well. And that's done in real time. So it's saving our customers a lot of time, a lot of stress. And in this market where blocks of land are going up sometimes $10,000 every week or so, it's saving our customers a lot of money because we're able to determine what packages are available in their area or the area that they're wanting to live right away. Which is something that we're really proud of, streamlining that process.
You know, what specific advice would you be giving to people who are trying to access the government grants at the moment? Is there anything that that you can let us know now?
Sure, there's a lot of information that's out there, and if you Google grants, the first thing that's probably going to come up is Hugh Grant, and information on Notting Hill and Love Actually is probably not going to help you get the Home Builders grant. So my advice would be to speak to an expert. An expert is going to point you in the right direction and tell you what grants are available. Each grant has different eligibility criteria. So there's a first homeowners grant, there's a home builders grant, there's a bonus builders grant, there's a rural grant, and each one has its own criteria and eligibility. So it's really important to speak to an expert, speak to a broker, or to make it even simpler, come and speak to us at Balfour Homes, and we'll be able to help you.
Oh, well, Jimmy Mullany from Balfour Homes, thanks so much for sharing those insights with us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Guys, thanks so much for having me, and appreciate it.
Get back to watching Love Actually.
Right now.
What a ripper.
I love that movie.
Time before we know it. Thanks, Jimmy.
Me too. It's one of my favourites.